This is Re-Embroidered Conversations. In our previous conversations, we explored self-worth, fear, and what happens when we do not understand ourselves. But when the struggle is not only internal, but physical as well, when your body begins to carry what you have lived, and you are forced to find a way to keep going anyway. Today, we are continuing that conversation through voice, through art, and through survival. Ace, I am so honored to have you here with me. I really want to know so much about you and just, know who's Ace and your background.
Well, I'm Ace. It's an honour to be here as well. It's way overdue. And I am a writer, musician, protest singer. I am the co-founder and COO of Branches of the Levant, which is an independent non-profit in North Gaza that distributes aid, food, water to marginalised communities across Gaza. And I am a Palestinian Jew, so I'm of Indian, Palestinian and Jewish descent. And I am very excited to just be on this venture with you as well, because I've been such a fan of the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much.
I just love that we're in the same community. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's where we exist. There's not a huge community for people like us, so we always find our way to each other eventually.
It's like best friends, family, community. I'm a huge fan of your music because it's real. It's from the heart. Have you ever felt like you were being asked to choose between parts of yourself? Because I know you were talking earlier about identity. You are Palestinian, also Jewish. Also, you mentioned something else as well.
Indian, yeah.
Indian. How does that make you feel?
For pretty much my entire life, I've felt so disconnected from all the different parts of me, because when I was little, I lived in London, which was closer to the Indian side of my family. And then I moved to the West Midlands to be closer to the Jewish side of my family, and so then there was that disconnect. And then, because I didn't grow up Orthodox, and I grew up in an interfaith family, so my dad being Christian, my mum being Jewish, and also, that coming together into a Jewish Christian family, which was very frowned upon from the religious Jewish side of my family and from the Indian part of my family. It's been such a combination of isolation, I guess, because I became the center point of two families and then a controversial result of that.
Wow.
And, my parents being progressives, they let me be whatever I want, but at the same time, them being separated from their families due to disapproval and, disconnection from that heritage meant that I didn't grow up with a lot of it to begin with. So I had to reclaim that a lot later on and find it out for myself and connect with different parts of my family to find out from them, to learn about the culture from them. And then to, I guess, rebuild my own personal identity, which I'm still doing. But that's also why I created Ace Ambrose as a character, because obviously my real name is Hadassah Miriam. And it, for a long time, didn't feel like it resonated with me because I didn't know who that was. And names have power. And the meanings behind the names as well. People expect you, especially in our communities, to live up to those names. And, Hadassah, it comes from Queen Esther, Hadassah in the Bible, and she was a leader and she was a healer and all of that. And then Miriam being a musician, and, she was also like a leader of her people, and I felt this immense pressure to live up to my name, didn't know how to do that, and then there were all these expectations, and I was like, I need to create an identity for myself that I can start from scratch, and something separate to the Hadassah that's chronically ill and the Hadassah that has these academic expectations and cultural expectations, something like a character I can live through and be more creatively myself. So I created Ace as this originally a fictional character in this little comic that I made when I was like 8 years old.
Wow, so you go back to 8-year-old. That just shows that since you're young, you felt different.
Yeah.
You always felt judged. What does that do to a child?
Oh, it messes you up. It splits you, because it like you said, having a personality versus having an identity. That, to me, those are two different things. Because your personality is sort of how you exist in the world, and then your identity is sort of just who you are intrinsically. And I was disjointed between those two things. It was the code switching for me as well, moving from London that was really diverse to a really conservative rural town. That for me was, I had to like code switch back and forth because of the racism and the I just wasn't used to it. I wasn't expecting that either.
Did you have support from family? Did they actually come and say, they called you by Ace?
Some did, but to be honest, I wasn't really asking to be called Ace until I went to college. So it's weird because Ace became my musical stage name. So then my family would they'd call me Hadassah and everything at home, and then my friends would then the friends I grew up with, they don't call me Ace. They can't. They really struggle
because they cannot see you as Ace.
Yeah. So then that's fine for me, because it would also feel weird for me to
just
call me Ace. But everyone I met from college onwards, I started introducing myself as Ace, because originally it started as my stage name. But then I realised a shift in people's behaviour and the difference in how they would treat me when I introduced myself as Ace versus Hadassah.
Yes.
Right? For one, when it was Hadassah, there would come microaggressions, whether it was they couldn't pronounce the name or refused to learn how to pronounce it.
And judge you straight away. They look at you and they say she is different.
Yeah, and she's exotic and all of these things. But then versus Ace, it was this cool, punk rock, easy to remember name. And I ended up sort of giving myself a microaggression in that sense. But it was a name that I identified with safety, because this is ridiculous, but my favourite character in Doctor Who, which was my favourite show since I was little, was Ace, and she was a punk rock companion.
Amazing! So you were inspired by her.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the show itself originally was made by an Indian man and a Jewish woman, right? So I found identity through that, and in my head I was like, it's a sign. That means one day I'm going to audition and be the Doctor. That was my dream, and I was just like, but in that I was like, I found comfort through all these fictional characters, like the Doctor, like Ace, and I was like, if I can make a character to find comfort through and then turn myself into that character, then I can gain that respect from that creation. And it worked, as soon as I started that identification and I was like, this is who I am, instantly when I say, hey, I'm Ace, they're like, oh, that's a cool name, and they remember you, and then they associate that with what I do, and then it just
Ace, I want to take you back to your childhood. When you were transitioning, finding Ace, how did you feel as a child? Did you have your mom's support explaining to you? Did you reach out? Did you connect to your feelings?
No, I was so it was around 7, because I'd moved from London to the West Midlands, and that hit me really hard. And realising now that I'm, finding out now that I'm autistic, that makes more sense to me why it affected me the way it did, because I struggled with change. I wasn't mentally prepared for it, to be taken away from my family and everything that I knew, because at least I sort of knew who I was in that environment, because I'd grown up there and I knew who I was with those people. Then being moved to a new town that has a lot of racism, and being like one of the only brown kids in my year as well at school, I was just thrown into the deep end, and my parents didn't really know how to deal with that, because they didn't know I was autistic. They didn't. It's not that they didn't support me, they just didn't know how to.
Do you think they were dealing with their own struggles?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was so stressful for them as well, because my dad had to move away from his family in London, and my mum, even though we were moving closer to her parents, and it was a town that we were used to, like, because we visited my grandparents there loads of times, the shift to moving to that area was such a different environment to a London space. But I feel like my mum is sort of white presenting, so I don't think she didn't face the same discrimination me and my dad did, although she grew up in Australia, so she faced it a lot more when she was younger. So it's not like she never grew up without racism. She experienced that a lot. But like moving to London, she lost her melanin and became more white presenting. So then moving to the West Midlands, she was kind of safer than we are in public, I guess. She
felt she belonged.
Yeah. At least more so than...
I think London is multicultural.
Exactly.
In London, you see a lot of people, mixed race, multicultural. But it seems that even though in London you did feel that you couldn't fit in.
A little. It was a mix, because I felt like I fitted in and didn't, because I loved my school and I loved the friends I grew up with. But at the same time, I still wasn't ingrained in the cultural aspects of my family.
Yes.
Because like I said, my grandparents, they lived in London for a bit, and then they moved to the West Midlands. But because of what our religions were, both my parents being, like I said, more liberal.
Yes.
And my dad being, they just were not, they were not integrated into their culture.
It's
so it
amazing.
Didn't,
they chose each other.
Exactly.
They chose each other. Happiness sometimes doesn't make sense to others, because we are conditioned. This is how we are brought up. We think this is normal. We have to be within our community all the time, and different challenges people. Being around a mother that's constantly fighting to belong as well, that must have made you feel, where do I belong? Do I belong towards this side or toward that side? So you know what? I'm just going to find me.
Yeah.
And that's liberating as well, Ace. We are, in a way, determined to break free in any way possible.
Yeah. And it's liberation's in our blood. Resistance is in our blood. So I got them going against the grain from there. A lot of times they would get frustrated with me because of it, and I was like, I got it from you. What do you mean?
Exactly. It's like, you know what? I don't want to be labeled.
Yeah.
When you find your own person, you feel powerful.
Yeah.
Yes, this is me. So when you found yourself, you straight away feel you belong in the music, your soul is connected to music, to writing.
I always knew I was going to be a writer. That was always in me from the beginning. Ever since I could write and read, my passion was there as a storyteller, as a creative. My mum is a poet as well. She wrote poetry, and my dad's a great storyteller. His thing was more jokes, but he they always encouraged my creativity, and my the music though was more just that comes from my grandparents' side mostly, because my grandparents very heavily into their music. My grandpa was a classical music buff, a collector. He even was an engineer at the Sydney Opera House, and it was ingrained in me. So they made sure from a young age I had music lessons. But I struggled, because I love to teach myself and learn to play by ear. So it almost felt like when I had music lessons, I was unlearning the way that I learned.
Wow.
And so they were like trying to ingrain me. They were like, you need to make sure you're learning properly. And I was like,
Yes.
I want to do it
Yes.
my way. But I never considered music as a career. Like, I wrote songs for fun, but I wanted to do writing. I wanted to be an author and a script writer and a poet.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I was like, oh, this poem is more like a song. So, but I started writing from like the age of 5. I wrote my first like children's book. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I found my Mr. Men and I wrote my own Mr. Men book. And I took string and I'd made the like pages and like written on the pages, and I sewed the pages together with like just string and like made myself a little flip book. And
you still have it, Ace?
Somewhere, I definitely. I keep
please send me a
everything.
picture. I would like to see it.
Find it.
That's
I never threw
so
anything
cool.
out. But like, it wasn't until college that I actually realized I could do music as a career and writing as a career and combine the two and be a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it clicked, because I've always loved music. I've always wanted to be a writer, but then that was the breaking point when I went through like trauma just before college and then during college, left college because of it, and then I was like, what do I do now? I can't do writing anymore. This career that I wanted to go in is not working. Where do I go? And then after discussions with a lot of like friends I had, I went to a concert and I met a songwriter. I was just like listening to them, and I was like, this is life-changing stuff. Like, why am I not doing this? And then I spoke to them after, and they were like, you're a great writer, you're a great musician, combine the two. Be a songwriter. You can tell stories through your music. So now my plan sort of was write stories, write books, and then make the soundtrack like in an album to release alongside that book. And so
Beautiful.
That's now how I want to go about my career, creating the story, writing the book, and then releasing the album as the soundtrack.
Do you feel you needed this time to be ready?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think my whole life I've been like, why am I not ready now? Why are all my peers doing what they're supposed to be doing by now? Like, time is ticking away, and like, I know what I am, I know what I should be. Why am I not there yet? And I'm 28 now.
Still young. Still young.
But in the music industry, it's difficult as a woman because the older you get in the industry, the more they're like, we don't want you, you're too old.
Do you feel that's why it's good to have your own platform where you're in charge of it? You can create your own platform. You can produce your own music. Do you feel music connects you, basically keeps you together mentally, emotionally, physically?
Yeah, when I've lost everything else, even, you know, like I said, I wanted to be an author. When I lost my ability to write prose, and I really did lose that ability. It was a brain fog and a blank, like almost like a freeze response.
Was it mental health?
Oh yeah. Because I when I was going through an abusive relationship, that's when I stopped, because he made me lose my passion for that writing. And so then every time I tried to write, my brain would go back to that. And it still affects me to this day. But the music never left me. My ability to write songs never left me. So that was, like, as you said, strong-willed, strong-minded, stubborn.
Yes.
And so no matter what, whenever someone has tried to take control of my life or my career or anything really about my identity, it doesn't affect me in that sense where I'm not a passive person. I'm peaceful. You know what I mean? There's a difference between the two. It's knowing that you can be capable of biting back, and you're holding yourself back because you're not even taking the higher ground, but you're taking a stance of control of, like, I know who I am. And, you know, if you are made insecure to the point of lashing out because I know who I am, that's a you issue.
Do you know what? It is crazy how people find other people confidence.
Yeah.
Their own problem. And no matter what they try to do, because they can't be you, so they try to break you, haven't discovered who they are.
Yeah. Or maybe they have and they don't like it.
Escaping abusive relationships and still going And I know it doesn't just go away. We have fear. We have fear of people, fear of change, of exploring, but still, we should be gentle on ourselves. There's so much to live for.
Yeah.
But from your journey, do you think a lot of things that you've experienced has something to do with your current health, would you say?
Oh yeah, the health. I think the health thing is something I never expected to have to deal with myself, because I was a carer for my dad for most of my life, and him having heart failure and kidney failure and all sorts. I felt honestly like I lost a lot of myself in my younger years, because I had to give up a lot of opportunities and career choices that I wanted to make to be his carer, and it didn't really occur to me. Like I'd always struggled with my health, and I'd always been underweight and we couldn't figure out why. I'd always had chronic pain issues, couldn't figure out why, but it didn't affect me so much to the point I wasn't living until I got to college, until I'd been in that abusive relationship, which obviously exacerbated it so much more. And my health then became who I was. It became the thing that people associated me with, because I went from being this super outgoing, super adventurous, went out non-stop all the time, like always out on a night out, really energetic. I did like all of the like the school clubs. I was into dance. I was into gymnastics. I was
and
into
your health back then.
It was still like I still had chronic pain, but it wasn't affecting me to the point where it was stopping me doing those things. And
did you understand that?
No, because like they told me growing pains, and because I didn't have any diagnoses back then.
See.
So they were like, oh, because you're doing all of these things to exert yourself, that's why you've got these aches and pains, and that's why you're underweight, because you're not eating enough, but you're putting all this energy into these extracurriculars. So that made sense to me at the time. And then I started getting sicker and sicker and having to give up dance, which was an absolute love of mine. I did ballet and street dance, and and gymnastics. I was accepted into like a top ballet academy, and like I started getting all these injuries, and I was like, am I just a klutz? Like,
did you do a blood test? Did you see a GP?
Nothing came up. They literally just put it down to like vitamin D deficiencies, and like, oh, you're not eating enough, so you need to gain weight, otherwise you're going to keep hurting yourself, blah blah blah. And like, it just didn't, like my whole life, it was being gaslit by doctors. Now I realise they didn't do the proper tests. But again, there's still not enough research into my conditions. But the main point was that I didn't have, at the time, what my dad had, so it didn't occur to me, maybe I might. Because he had diabetes, I'd been tested a lot for it, just in case, because our whole family on that side did. And it seemed to have skipped a generation with me, so I thought, I'm in the clear. And then, again, once it got to college, I had to quit everything I loved doing, so...
Did you quit suddenly, or...?
Gradually. Honestly, it all happened over the course of, like, 3 years, where I had to quit dance first, then I had to quit gymnastics, then the cross-country, and every time I had to quit something, it's like it chipped away, like, bit by bit at myself, because these were all... part of who I was, things I loved to do, being out in the world. Then I had to stop going on nights out because my body just couldn't handle it. I'd get chronic fatigue. And so then obviously I stopped hanging out with friends, because the friends I was with, they only wanted to hang out in those situations. And so I found myself with no extracurriculars, no social group. The only time I'd see my friends was at college. And I felt like I just completely lost who I was, and the only thing I had left was my music. But I still didn't know what was wrong with me health-wise, and it wasn't until literally 10 years later. So it's literally like the last 3 years. It wasn't until after COVID that I got my diagnoses. Because in the last 2 years, I got diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which means that my body produces defective collagen being the glue that holds the body together. So your skin, your bones, your muscles, everything. That's why I can't gain weight. It causes the chronic pain. The fatigue, all of the comorbidities, everything I've struggled with my entire life now makes sense.
How does that make you feel now that you can name?
Relief, a lot of relief.
Yes.
I'm anxious about the future and how I'm going to deal with it, but validated because I've been gaslit my whole life by these doctors who either said that I had an eating disorder and refused to give me any treatment or tests, just straight up were abusive when I was in hospital because they considered me, a hypochondriac and everything, and it's just been a whole lifetime of knowing something is wrong with me that's not my fault, being told there's nothing wrong with you, and if there is, it's your fault.
It's like an abusive relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So, do you feel, Ace, that you have to explain your health condition a lot?
Yeah, but less so than I used to, because at least now I know what's wrong. So now I can literally just like I summed it up then, it used to be I would have to go into like over explaining, oh, I feel this way and I feel that way and I feel this way.
Do you feel you're responsible to?
Yes and no. It depends on the situation, I think. Because if I've got like a commitment to something and my health might affect that commitment that I've made, then I do need to, just straight up tell them I've got this condition. It will affect how I do this thing.
Friends? Did it affect friends, family?
All of it. I literally don't have, I'd say, a friend group anymore. I completely dropped out of it. I've got my best friend. Shout out to Curtis, who's also nerdy and niche on Instagram. He does all the artwork.
Is he the one that tagged me? He said, Ace! He said, I love Ace.
Oh, that's Astro. But he's my moderator. He's also great.
He's amazing.
It's great to have a community online that support me now, because I never had
that.
That's
amazing.
Either.
I mean, I want to thank him for recommending and just basically saying, hey, Ace. And I was like, whoa, I'm in love with that. So, yeah. So
honestly, it's it could have been Astro and Ricky. Those two online were my ride or die supporters, which
amazing.
Is great. It's so great because, like I said, I didn't have an online community as such, and I was terrified of being online because I'm a hermit. You know what I mean? After I lost my in-person people, then I retreated into myself, and I was like, I can still be a personality online. That's how people do things. But then once the attention comes, I get overwhelmed, and I'm
how do you cope with that? So you come across, I got this. I am strong. And then behind closed doors, what happens to you?
I'm not built to be an influencer. That's never been like... I'm not that kind of person. And people are like, oh, but you've got these followers now in this community. I was like, no, think about it this way. Imagine you're outside and then suddenly 10,000 people start following you down the road.
That's stalking.
Yeah, people don't, actually, they don't put it into a real life perspective, because you get dissociated from it because it's online. You don't see them as people, you see them as names and numbers and figures and stats and stuff.
They have this weird thing that they know you.
Yeah. Oh, the parasocial relationships are weird. It's so weird. It's like I try to be congenial with everyone and civil with everyone, but then it's when you get certain people that are following you and they sort of go into, they learn everything about you, and they think that that's an invitation to push boundaries and treat you like, they know you so much that they're allowed to, be inappropriate and insert themselves into your life. Like you said, as if they know you and they have that dynamic with you when they don't.
From what you shared, you still go out there and help others. Feel that's my purpose.
It's always, I think my purpose, it goes back to that name thing I was saying earlier, where I always felt like I had a calling to do something important to help people. It's in my name, and I was like, that was a pressure I didn't know how to live up to, and I didn't know how to do it and what channel to do it through, and then I wanted to do it through my music, but I didn't know how to do it through music.
Yes.
And because anyone can write songs that resonate with people, but I also felt like that wasn't enough just to resonate with people. And I wanted to use the money to actually help communities on the ground and do the work myself. I wanted to make sure that in all this darkness, you know, I could
Yes.
not just create light, but bring it physically to people and make sure that, like, money I raise, for example, from releasing a song, I wanted to make sure that goes directly to someone who needs help, not just donating it to a random charity. Because I personally don't trust a lot of charities.
Yes,
I
yes,
don't, you know,
I
especially
agree.
with big corporations. And
Yeah.
it was like, you know, if you want something done, do it yourself type of deal.
Exactly. Did you ever lose your voice?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. That was actually that was during college when I'd been in that relationship, and the physical abuse that he'd put me through specifically targeted things in me, obviously, that were connected to, because at that point I was like, suddenly I'm doing music. He'd sabotaged the writing part of my life, and he was like, oh well, I'm a musician and you're copying me, and like you're trying to be successful in music and you're doing this and this. And I'd already faced damage to my hands from what he'd put me through, and then after one specific attack, it had affected my vocal cords, and I'd lost my ability to heal because the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I can't heal properly. So I had permanent damage to my vocal cords, and I kept basically coming up with the excuse, oh, I've got tonsillitis again, oh, I've got this, I've got that, because people started to notice that my voice was changing. Suddenly I wasn't able to hold a tune, I couldn't sing properly. It had been like, well, you know, there was even a bit of bullying. There was like cliques in the college, and some of them would just exclude me from groups because she was like, oh, she's a bad singer, she's just trying to do this, trying to do that. No one knew what I was dealing with. And then a couple of people that I'd opened up to kind of used that against me in a way, you know, and I was like, I at that point didn't trust anybody at all. And I felt, like you said, I felt like I'd lost the only thing I had left. And it took me years and years of reparative therapy to get back to where I'd been sort of before that point. But the damage is permanent. So even to this day, I still, like, even in my worst flare-ups, I get back to that place where I was. And sometimes it happens during PTSD episodes, especially, where one day I'll be completely fine. And the next day I'll have a PTSD episode, and my body then reverts back into that physical space, and it thinks it's reliving those experiences. Yeah. So it's a psychological thing where physically nothing wrong with my vocal cords or my body, but I'll feel the pain that I went through back then, and it's muscle memory. And so I can't sing. It's like my vocal cords sort of tighten up and retract, and there's no real sort of physiotherapy that I can do to fix it. And I didn't realise that at the time, so the more I tried to physically fix it, the more damage I was actually doing to myself. And I'm very aware now that's just something that's kind of in me, and I'm just going to have to live with that and work around it and adapt to it as it goes, which is why, you know, even though I can sing, I make it known that I'm a songwriter, and my thing is always the message. And even if people hear me performing and I'm not physically at my best performing because maybe I've got a flare-up in my hands so I can't play the chords very well, or a flare-up in my vocal cords and I can't sing the words, I say to them, listen past that and listen to the words themselves and the message, because that's the important part. And if my guitar is out of tune, so be it, because so is the world. The world is out of tune. So,
Ace, do you feel, by saying you're a songwriter, do you feel that's your grounding? That gives you the comfort. You know your ability and you know I can do it, but I want to say that so I don't feel I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself.
Yeah, because it's the one thing I know I can do naturally no matter what. Sometimes it feels like I'm not even writing the songs. Sometimes it feels like the song already exists in the ether, and then I just sort of pull it out. You know what I mean? Because
it's just your soul.
Yeah, sometimes I don't even remember writing the songs. It's like I blank and then it exists.
Connecting your space, you can create some beautiful things. Because people's energy sometimes...
Oh, yeah.
The pain that we carry something beautiful is born.
Yeah.
That's where my book, was created. We always saw the good in people. That's why we get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're always expecting someone to live up to their potential and to be their best self, and
Yes.
then it's like we don't even get surprised when they don't. It's literally like I see even when they're hurting us, we're like, well, we still believe that you're capable of healing and of being better, and it's eventually you have to break that cycle and break your own heart by letting them go and just be that person. They may, sometimes I know people who were, really awful people, even abusers in a past life, and they, whether they went to prison or whatever, like rehabilitation, they genuinely did change, but that only comes from taking actual accountability. And there's also a line, I think, where I can understand, when someone's rehabilitated, it depends very much what you do and what you did to another person, what kind of hurt that you caused. Because for me, obviously, there's certain things that you can't necessarily come back from, and you have to acknowledge that is something that you did, and it's something that is inside you, and it's something that Doctor Who taught me. Is I don't think people are good or bad inherently. I think that it's what you try to be, and if you are trying genuinely to be a good person, that's the point. Not so that people see you as a good person, but because that's the bare minimum. And I think that's the main issue where people are acting good, they're acting nice, especially the nice guy trope. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
where it's like you're acting that way because you want to be seen that way and get a cookie for acting like a decent person, instead of that being just the bare minimum. You don't get a reward for just being a decent person. And if you're doing good things to be seen as good, then that's not who you are. And it's what I feel is who you are is how you act and behave and react when you're in your lowest moment and your darkest point.
Yes.
Backed into a corner, as it were.
Yeah.
You're given a choice. Life's made of choices. When you're given a choice, and especially the toughest ones, we're not always going to make the right decisions. And, I've made a lot of bad choices that I regret, but I've also had to realise, at the time I was like, well, this isn't who I am, because this is just a choice I made. I'm like, no, that is who I am. I keep repeating these patterns. I keep trusting these people over and over again, expecting a different result.
And also, I want to ask you, in public, you perform, you told me, rock and powerful music. All your lyrics are powerful. Is there a different side to you that you have written that you haven't shared in public? Yeah,
it's strange because the songs that mean the most to me are soft songs. It's very personal, very tortured artist, very, very personal, more acoustic songs that are about the trauma and everything, and the more punk rock and roll songs, because I grew up on glam rock and punk and all of that. That's when I get really political, and I guess whatever energy and story I'm trying to tell, I translate that into the genre that I want. So that's why I say I'm multi-genre, or genre fluid, because I like when I'm writing something.
That's sexy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like it's easier for me to tell those stories, because then I'm not I'm not forcing myself into a box, because I don't feel like when I'm being vulnerable, I don't get a lot of energy from that. I'm put into this traumatic, quiet space, and I feel like that's then what gets translated into the music. So it becomes very sort of soft, and it becomes acoustic and quiet and slow. And then when I'm fired up and I get that energy in a story where I'm feeling really passionate about, a political stance or a government takedown or whatever it is, that's when the rock and roll punk energy comes out. But I only ever really in the past have performed the big rock and roll stuff, and I very rarely perform the soft, vulnerable side. And right now, obviously I'm doing protest music is my main thing, and I'm actually doing that from an acoustic punk type perspective, because the focus of this genre obviously is the Palestinian liberation movement.
Yes.
And I feel that with that comes resistance in power and energy, with a mixture of quiet resistance where it's showing, the softer, human, vulnerable side, and I'm trying to find that sort of blend together. But at the same time, that to me is my focus, but I'm still holding back and not performing the stuff that's about my chronic illness, for example, and my trauma. That's another layer of vulnerable that I have been sort of keeping to myself.
I hope you can share it with us today.
I would love to.
I love that side, because that is the side where a lot of people can't sit with.
Yeah. It makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah. Did you ever feel pressure to create something that wasn't true to you?
And I walked away from it. Like I've sort of I'm quite good at keeping myself away from opportunities that aren't right for me. But there's been certain situations that you can't really avoid. When working with other artists in a collaboration, or when I was in college, or even when I was working with certain promoters, and they wanted me to do things that didn't align with me, with who I was as a person.
How did you deal with that at the moment? In that moment, how did you find it?
I was going to say badly, but to them it's badly. With me, I think it just sort of, that was a catalyst. I think that the main thing that springs to mind is when I performed at Godiva Festival. So the last time I performed a couple of years ago, and it was just after I had made my Palestinian identity public. Because before then, I'd spoken about it before, but it had never been the focus of what I do, because it never had to be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And at that point, it had felt, after 2023, it had felt really important to make people aware of this, because like I said before, I separated Ace from Hadassah, and I realised I can't do that forever. I created this character and ended up being more real through that fictional character, and that was the channel for that. So then I played Godiva almost every year for several years on the BBC stage.
Amazing.
And they...
Well done.
Thank you. But they emailed me, and they told me, please don't make your set political. And I was like, do you know who you're talking to? You know who you're you know exactly who I am, right? That's a risky thing to tell me.
I mean, you told me no. Watch.
Yeah, no, I was like, okay, watch this. That's what I did. Before there was Bob Villain, there was Ace Ambrose. I went up onto that stage, I performed my set, and in the last song, which is called Just Like Jericho, I did a quick change.
And they weren't aware of that change.
Oh, no, yeah, no. I did a quick change into my Palestine hoodie. And there's a video of it.
Did you have a video
There is a video of it. And, the video cut shortly after that. And but yeah, I wore it, I put it on, came back on stage, said my piece. And what was really interesting was the response to that, because obviously the producers were panicking and all of that. And it was funny because the host, when I came off stage, he was like, good on ya. And then the security as well, when I'd come off stage later on, we'd gone to get some food with the band, came back, we were in the field. Security came and found me, and they were like, that was brilliant. They were like, I love what you did, that was great, I want to shake your hand, free Palestine.
Well done.
And I was like, it was such a beautiful moment, because I know who I am, and I don't care what other people think of me, but when you get that response where people see you and appreciate what you do, and they know the risk that you are putting yourself out there to do.
And there's a lot of risk.
A lot, because after that, I
Yes.
lost everything. Like from that, they never worked with me again. And I'd been the BBC poster girl essentially for the previous 10 years. I'd been the music representative for City of Culture, and I'd been almost tokenized a little bit, but I loved the work that I did with them, with BBC Introducing, with everything. And I was very, very aware that the second I did that...
Oh, you knew it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I knew that they would want nothing to do with me
course.
after that. And this was essentially my see you later, like, sort of thing. And I did that. I was happy to do it. And I never worked with them again. And I lost a lot of opportunities. A lot of promoters distanced themselves from me. And it was great because I sacrificed a part of my career that I didn't want in my life anyway, because it really shows you people's morals and their ethics. And the ones that reached out to me and they were like, we see you, we support what you do, we stand with you, and we want you to do this with us. Like you, obviously. Like with the
I love you.
With Pieces the song. I adore you, and I knew that
I adore you.
I knew that doing this would help me find my people and the right people, versus before I'd just been adapting to whatever was around me, because I'd helped build up the West Midlands scene. You know, I'd done underground radio, I'd done mainstream radio, I'd done, promoting and all of this stuff to try and help build the scene up. And they turned against me.
The moment you said,
yeah,
I am Palestinian, is that...
And proud.
And proud.
Yeah. They wanted to be neutral, that's the thing.
So
it wasn't where they were like, we're anti-Palestinian. It was more...
Don't mention.
Yeah, they don't want to be politically controversial because they don't want it to blow back on them. And the same thing happened then with people I was working with, even musically, like band members and stuff. They wanted to be neutral. And I was like, there is no neutral when it comes to genocide.
But that's the thing. We need a platform where you can be yourself.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be censored.
Oh, I hate being censored. That's why my radio show was completely uncensored. You know, the one that I ran, I turned down so many opportunities to be a radio host because I was like, unless I have a show that's completely uncensored, where I can, where I can curse, where I can play music that curses, where I can be political and I can state my opinions and not be like told to shut up, then I don't want it. And, that obviously for a lot of people, like they were like, okay, well then we don't want you. I'm like, cool, then we're not, we're not right for each other.
At least you can sleep at night, right?
Exactly.
Knowing that you're against the killing. You are against all these, the war, the genocide.
I don't know how people can be neutral when it comes to that. Like, it doesn't make sense to me how you... And maybe in some cases, a lot of cases, it does come from a lack of education, which is another reason I do what I do, because I want to try and educate people from, my perspective, which is a unique one. But at the same time, there are people that do know what's going on.
But some people don't want to know.
They don't want to know, but also they're complicit.
They don't care. They're thinking, we just want to wake up, go to our 9-to-5 jobs. When people listen to your music, what do you hope they feel?
Hope. I want them to feel, to be fair, I want them to feel whatever emotion I'm feeling in that moment, because I want them to experience it and live it with me. Obviously, I don't want them to feel the hurt and the pain and stuff, but a lot of it does get suppressed. And when you go to a concert and stuff, you do go for escapism. And a lot of my music is escapism. It's fun. It's upbeat and joyful and stuff, but then a lot of it isn't. A lot of it is a reality check where I'm trying to be honest and say, this is how I'm feeling, and heads up, you're gonna feel it as well.
Want that. I want that Ace.
Yeah.
I want the reality.